it's 4:31. I guess I should call this meeting. This meeting of the Harmony CDD for a workshop to order. Roll call, we've got Lucas. Here. Dan. Here. Carol. Present. And I'm Mark, I'm here. We understand Joe has a problem with her foot, so I don't think she'll be here, and I don't. Has she joined us? No. Okay. And now I guess it's take it away, Brenda.
Sure thing, everybody. Angel apologizes for not being here. She's had a bit of a medical emergency also. And you've met Howard, who is there at your meeting. He is one of our new district managers. Jennifer Golden is our regional director. She is on her way, but she is stuck in traffic. So she'll be there anytime between now and your regular meeting. But as I mentioned briefly before the meeting started, and Angel sent this email to everyone, tonight is for the purpose of introducing this template to you. The budget part will look the same, but we have, Leah has come up with a better way of forecasting what your projections are, just to help you with your estimating a little bit better. So I'm going to share my screen, and then we can talk through everything. Leah, I think I may hand this part over to you since you're the one who developed this budget. But your basic ideas for today is we're going to show you the template, the format, how everything looks. And then at the end of tonight, we want you to start thinking about your contribution to reserves. Angel just kept the same $412,000 in there. What projects you want, the potential purchase of the golf facility, any other enhancements and projects that you want. So that'll be our goal by the end of the workshop for you to think about for the next one. Okay, share my screen.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
I think I'm on. You can?
We can.
Oh, fantastic. Hello, everyone. I don't know if I've met each one of you guys. My name is Leah Popelka, and I lead the finance division with Infomark. And I'm excited to show you guys this new model that we're presenting to you today. I always love to hear feedback, and I hope that it proves useful in helping you better forecast operating needs, primarily within the current operating year. So Brenda, are you able to show on the screen, or were you hoping to have me?
No, Dan, it says that you have disabled participant screen sharing. So if you could allow multiple shares, then I can share.
Thought I had done that already. It says
That's all right.
should be able to go now.
Ooh, here we go.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Are you seeing my numbers? Nope, not yet, says share.
Not yet. It says
We're getting there.
Sometimes my computer takes a minute. Leah, is it easier if you share?
I can try. Let's see. Brenda, will you shoot me over the latest version? I want to make sure that I'm presenting what was the intended version, and then I'll try to share. Let's see.
Or just tell me when to move up and down.
I don't see anything. Do you board members see anything?
Not
It
yet.
says Brenda Burgess has started.
There we go. There we go. Awesome. Okay. So Brenda, if you want to show the dashboard, we're not going to really be rolling this out in its entirety yet, but I wanted to give you guys an idea of some of the things that I've been thinking through. So essentially what I've created is the beginning of a series of tools that's intended to provide each one of you with the ability to see where you are at any given point in time, and B, make critical management decisions based on forecasts through the balance of the year. So the first thing that I envisioned is what I'm calling your manager's dashboard. And what you're going to see is a couple of key elements. You don't need to examine this in detail. You can see the writing is kind of small, but I'm just going to kind of conceptually give you guys an idea where I'm going with it. The first section of this is what I'm calling the fiscal year 2024 operating budget, which is really going to provide an idea of how you're performing within the current year. The first section to the left says, okay, we're going to look at the entire general fund budget. And we're going to examine, based on how much of the year that has passed to date, what we believe the share of the budget, what we should be looking at today is sort of our target. So in this case, if we're saying that 41% of your fiscal year has passed through February, that you should be looking at a budget of roughly $1.13 million. And what you're going to do is compare your actuals against that number. So if our current actuals are at $1.279 million, that means that we are running at a roughly $149,000 over budget, again, using that time period, right? 41% of your operating budget. That's roughly 13% over. Now, I will share with you that those numbers may seem a little bit high, but you may be aware that many of your administrative expenses are front loaded. So you want to kind of keep that in mind. You might have an audit that's coming in. You may have, you know, many of those different expenses that you'll see on the front end. So what we then do to the right hand side of that is we say, okay, now that we understand where we are today, where do we think we'll be at the end of the fiscal year? And that's the information that you're going to see to the right. Brenda, I'm getting a weird box on the right hand side. Are you guys seeing it with all of your faces? I can't.
That's part of
really...
Zoom. You can just put your mouse over that and minimize it.
Sure.
I sit on our screen here, but you should be able to move that around.
Got it. Got it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. So on the right hand side, what we're saying here is our forecasted performance. And what we're showing in this case is that the total budget allotment for 2024 was $2.74 million. We're forecasting at the end of the year, based on the projections I'm going to run through with you guys in a moment, that you're going to come in at a little under $2.5 million. So at the end of the year, you're targeting that you're going to be at a $254,000 budget value under what you had originally budgeted. So that's a little less than 10% under your budget. So that kind of gives you a quick tool, sort of a gauge to see how am I performing. And this is an element that I wanted to add in so that you had more of a macro level in lieu of just being able to analyze it on a line by line basis. And then if you go a little further down, you'll see some metrics that apply to next year's operating budget. The first thing we look at is how are we comparing year over year? Well, you want to look at your fiscal year 2024 budget, which we talked about the fact that was $2.74 million. What you are envisioning in your 2025 budget. In this case, we plugged in $2.775 million. So that's $35,000 over last year's budget, or a year over year increase of 1.3%. So again, at a macro level, what are we suggesting? What are we targeting? And is that in alignment with what we had hoped for, right? If you had a 3% goal or a flat goal or whatever the case is, this just gives you a quick idea. We then look at, and this probably doesn't, I don't believe in Harmony, you have one parcel that is direct build. But if you did have a segmentation between on-roll and direct build assessments, that next section would carry that information. And then on the right-hand side, we look at your fund balances, again, at a macro level, and you have a Schedule A that provides that information in detail. So showing this to you just so you get an idea of where we're going as a business. We want to continue to arm you guys with the best information we can possibly provide so that you can do, a great job providing, sort of your fiscal responsibility on behalf of the board. All right. Any questions about that?
Yeah, I have a question about the fund balance. Is that our reserves that we have? What's the $1.13 million there? Yeah, F29 got highlighted.
Yeah, unfortunately, Brenda knows this stuff back and forth, so I'm going to let her speak to kind of where you guys are sitting with reserves today. But yes, is the answer. That is your reserves.
The unassigned fund balance is what we have left at the end of the year to add to reserves, to unassigned, whatever is listed on your Exhibit A. And that we can go through, that'll be listed out more clearly in your financial statements.
Okay. So we'll tap into that right after I go through the general fund page. So if you go directly, Brenda, to the 001 tab, we'll talk a little bit about what we've got here. Okay. So through guidance and you know, sort of surveying different boards and getting some ideas, we came up with this model. One of the consistent things that we were being told is, look, guys, we need to really do a better job of being able to forecast where we're going to be within the current operating year so that we fundamentally understand how much cash is able to be deposited into the revenue or the reserve fund rather at the end of the year. Or conversely, maybe we have a deficit situation and we certainly want to know about that in advance. So what we've done with that concept in mind is we've baked in, you've always seen this projection column in column K. But what we've done now is we've added columns R through U. And in these columns, you're able to tweak how you want to have the data presented. So if we go to the administration column first, in this section of the budget, for each one of these expense line items, you have a few different levers that you can pull to determine what your projections are going to come in at. So as an example, if I'm looking at line 34, which is my engineering services, you as the board members better understand than we do what kind of projects you have coming online. Do you think there's nothing really special and they're going to, you know, essentially have your standard engineering fees? Or do you need to think about something that's perhaps outside of the norm? So in this case, you can say, I either believe that the number that I should be plugging for engineering services should match my budget. We think we're going to come online, in which case you would put a Y within your budget column. And in that case, what will happen is the numbers will automatically tweak. You'll see that your adopted budget was $60,000, and the formula automatically understands that it needs to calculate whatever number is necessary in order to come back to that $60,000 budget. So that lets you know how much you're able to spend in order to remain within your budget. If you instead say, you know what, we've had a bunch of activity occurring, we think it's probably appropriate for us to streamline our expenses based on actual activity, you can put a Y in your actuals column. It's then going to take that number, the $53,000 that has been baked in, and essentially says, okay, this much of the year has passed. We're going to use that same activity to forecast future expenses. Therefore, we think we're going to need about another $76,000. And you can see that your budget has now more than doubled. Again, using historical activity to forecast your future needs. The third lever that you can pull is what we're calling specific value. And this just means, let's say in this case, you said to the engineer, look, we want you to come in at, you know, we're going to let you spend another $20,000 through the balance of the fiscal year. You plug 20 in there, boom, that's the number that comes in. And now you can see that your percentage over budget is showing roughly 22%. So in any one of these expense line items, you now have the power to drive the results based on your knowledge of what's happening in any of these line items. So as a default, we try to stay with budget in most cases. Again, some of the areas that you might want to deviate, you know, R&M expenses, your repairs, your maintenance, your, you know, some of the capital reserve needs, etc. But this just really gives you the power to put in some tools so that your bottom line, so if you go all the way to the bottom, Brenda, if you go all the way to the bottom, now you've got a real idea. You've spent $1.28 million based on your knowledge, right? We think you're going to spend about another $1.22 million. So this tells you, okay, great. At the end of the year, we're thinking we're going to have $219,000 of additional resources to put into our fund balance. So that's really the conceptual framework of this model. Another thing that we plugged in column O is what I am calling a benchmark. You might see on the right-hand side, I don't know, Brenda, if you can hover over that 20% mark that I've plugged in there, which is, yep, you hit it right on the head. So you can plug in whatever benchmark you're comfortable with. So if you as a board say, yeah, you know what, We want to know about any expense line items that exceed our benchmark. Maybe it's 10%, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 50, whatever that number is. I've plugged in 20% as my default. What'll happen then is any expense line item after the projections are made, if anything exceeds 20% over your budget allotment, it's now going to highlight that. So in this case, your, well, we won't look at the debt service. Let's see if we can see a relevant example that's a little better. So if you go up a bit to maybe some of the operating expense line items. Okay, perfect. So if we say R&M ponds, you see automatically your eye zooms into the problematic areas. You can see that you budgeted $20,000. You're well above that value, and it's highlighting that sensitivity within this analysis. And you'll find that within the balance of the worksheet. We did that based on some feedback that some board members made. You know, your eyes can kind of glaze over as you're looking at the numbers, and you need to be able to highlight those areas that are potentially problematic. So guys, that's really the idea behind some of the structural changes that we've made within the general fund tab in your workbook. And I'm happy to address any questions that you have.
Leah, did you also want to explain, we've added a couple of interesting items on your assessment detail page.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So do you guys want to talk about this one first, or do you want to go into whatever your comfort level is? We can go, I can tell you about the assessment detail, and then we can go back. So essentially in the assessment detail page, there are a couple of key elements, and Brenda was really critical in helping us think through this. One of the questions that comes up quite often is board members want to understand what the financial implications are of additional funds that are being baked into the budget. So in this case, what Brenda's done, what you'll see in the column G, row 63, she's plugged in a $500,000 assessment increase. And what's great, this tool that we came up with is it analyzes the assessment spread on each one of your products and says, okay, if we had this $500,000 increase, what would this mean in terms of the impact for each one of our residents? So you'll see, as an example, a multifamily product would go up to $840, and then you can see the various single family products and the impact there. So I think that's a pretty powerful tool. If she went into that 500,000 and made it 100,000, Brenda, if you want to show how that works, it's a live number. You can do whatever you want to. And you can see the different, the change to the overall assessment load that would be imposed.
And that would be, sorry, Leah, that would be in addition to what you budget. So
Correct.
These are, again, preliminary numbers. Angel has put some of them in. So if we end up with a budget of the 2,775, that translates to your assessments in this column. Multifamily is 709. So, and here's how you know it works. You put in 0. I don't want to increase it above what we're already budgeting. That column G shows the same as your column J. If you're looking at several projects for $1 million, you can put $1 million in here, and this column will show you what the total assessment would be. So it's just fun to play around with. I know Joe was a big help last year talking about, well, if we increase it 50,000, it's a certain number of dollar increase. So sometimes that'll help you if you want maybe to figure out what you want your contribution to be. So it's something just additional that we wanted you to be able to look at.
That's exactly right. And then on the right-hand side of that, you'll see what we're calling the assessment trend analysis. This is specific to just the general fund. It is not commingled with the debt service assessments, and that is by design. We want you to be able to specifically speak to that general fund impact, because we all know debt service assesses remain the same year over year.
You guys hear?
So what we,
Can
yeah,
you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. Yes. Sorry.
Just a question on column S, since you reduced the assessment increase to 0, basically, it says 104%. What is that?
That should be 4%.
Yeah, so essentially what it's saying is that you have increased your budget by a small amount. So year over year, can you show me, Brenda, in the 001 tab, if we look at the revenue in
It's
24.
basically, we have to take
25.
100 off. It's basically the 4%.
Yeah,
It's
4%.
the 3% increase, but yes.
Formula.
Exactly, 4%.
Yep.
Yep.
It just needs to reduce that by 100. Yep.
Yep, so it's a
Sorry, I
4%
didn't notice
increase.
that. I did, yeah, I did that in another district and didn't even think to look here. Thanks, Lucas.
No problem.
Yes.
All right, and then on the right-hand side, you've got your assessment trend analysis. And again, the feedback that we commonly get is, oh, you guys are increasing our assessments 30% a year. You get some, outlandish statements, right? This gives you the ammunition to essentially say, well, here's the actual effect. In 2021, you were at 463. That's wild that it went down in 2022. And so you can kind of show them exactly what the true values were over a 5-year period. So those are the substantive changes that were made to the model. Again, I hope they're helpful for you guys, and spend some time with it, play with it. We've designed it so that you guys have these tools available, and we no longer want to make you feel like you're handicapped or not able to participate and really play with the numbers. And so that's the idea this year. So let me know what questions you have.
No questions. I really like the breakdown of the fiscal years and the neighborhood lots. One question or one request that I have is, can you correlate what the neighborhood label name is to the location or names of the places in Harmony, that people can easily understand what neighborhood number and
Right. So D is Drake
idea.
and E is the
Yeah.
estates and all those.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I am so glad Brenda's on the line since she knows that stuff like the back of her hand.
No, I'm just saying we put it in this.
Yeah,
It'll-
I agree.
No, I know, but as long as we have the total information in the spreadsheet, it's an easy table to add and to correlate where they're.
Yeah.
where they're at.
For sure.
I'm wondering if we could add on the assessment trend analysis, a percentage number of percent increase year over year. Like a-
Sure. Basically add a column between J and K for the increase between these 2 years.
It's a great idea.
Or it could
I
be
like
another
that.
table off to the side, just showing, okay, here's the 4 years and then here's what the percent increase was each one. of
Right.
those.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Sorry,
back
I'm on
up
a
to you.
protected sheet. I can't make, I was gonna put a formula in to show you, but never mind, I'll do it later. Yes, Leah can add that. She's a whiz.
All powerful. No, just kidding. All right, so
Truthful percentages.
I can't, if you want us to hear, I didn't hear that last statement.
Carol?
So that way we can have actual factual percentages, not.
Correct.
I
Correct.
completely agree and I love it.
Yeah, I've had a lot of questions, especially last year when we increased about what lot am I in, what neighborhood, and all this. The previous increment or increases and what they were.
Yep. Yeah, you guys were definitely on our mind as we were creating and sort of crafting the model.
Appreciate it.
And again, your table up here still shows what last year's O&M assessment was and this year's assessment, plus whichever debt service category you fall into, and that total. So that will still show at the top of this screen on the assessment detail page. Any other thoughts? Y'all want to go back to the 001 tab and start looking at some things or making comments?
It might be outside the scope of this meeting, for the multifamily is this, is this kind of tool here going to be helpful for when we're looking at those assessments based on density, or if you have any comments on that? I know it's not going to apply to this immediate budget year, but it's something we want to be ahead of.
Are you talking about the new apartments they're looking at doing?
Yeah. And making sure that that the multifamily assessments are, being fair to, the ones that are already here and, have already been paying into it, but also account for maybe the density being higher than when these assessments were first planned out.
Correct.
Is mine on?
It should be. You have a green light?
No.
Go ahead.
Press that button.
There,
Now I have it.
yes.
Ooh, yeah. Thank
As that is an item on the agenda for the regular meeting, I think we should save it for the regular meeting because
Okay.
that's
So
out there
that's-
published.
Okay.
But
yeah,
I understand, yeah,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to see.
it's actually the first thing we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Yes, Leah has prepared those methodologies and she'll be prepared to talk about that at the meeting. But yes, Dan, I mean, that obviously directly correlates to your budget and your assessment.
I guess my question was, if multifamily is all just on that one, A1 line item is, I mean, I guess the methodology would have to be applied universally to any of those A1 properties. Is that correct?
So
Tell
let's
me a
look at-
little bit about, I'm not sure I'm completely following the logic. Is there some distinction that I'm not thinking about this multifamily product?
I don't know. I mean, if we have what's already existing versus what's coming in, again, I understand maybe that's outside the scope of the meeting here, but I was.
Yep.
For example, if you look at your 52 lots, so section B is at Birchwood 1458, but down in C it's 1432. So it may not be, Dan, to your point, it may not be universal because your 50, your 42s, these don't all match every single neighborhood. What we generally have done in other districts is either do a straight line, everybody pays the exact same amount, or your O&M methodology generally follows your debt service methodology. So that may be an issue of looking at previous bond issues and how that was sectioned out by product type, and whether these apartments have any bonds on them or not. That'll be what Leah and Liz Moore, if you guys remember her, she is back working with us and she's very concerned about this district and getting everything the way it needs to be, understanding we've got density issues in apartments coming on. They will be taking a look at that. But Dan, yes, to your point, the district has to make sure that everything is fair and equitable to everyone, new people coming in and people who currently live here.
Okay.
We're not going to charge them $5. We're not going to charge them 30,000. So, it's all, and I say that, obviously that's completely inaccurate, but yes, they will be fair and equitable.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, you guys are going to be presented with options and really the decision rests with you as the board, and you have considerable latitude legislatively. So that's the beauty of the design.
So
Right.
board members, Mr. Chairman, did you want to start looking at the 001 tab? Did you want to start talking about projects that you may be considering? Obviously, we'll be thinking about that over the next few months. Tell me what you're ready to talk about.
Well, I mean, the one question I had when we were starting is the projection at the top is that fairly accurate?
The ones that Leah just discussed with you?
Yeah.
These are what we put in for now.
Exactly.
We can change them. So again, example, engineering, we got a lot of engineering stuff. We've got a lot of legal stuff. So those two you may want to do based on actuals. And we may change this time, we may change them next time as we get better idea of something. Some things are contracts, those will be to budget. We're fairly certain of that. But all that's up for board conversation and discussion. Certain things staff will know. We will know if we're going to spend something on ponds because we've got something coming up, or we've got proposals that we want to bring to the board for certain items.
Could you go back to the top and look over the landscaping?
Field items or landscaping?
Yep, field items, landscaping. I know we had a lot of cost there last year and beginning of this year, just getting the irrigation back up and running. I want to just kind of see what this says. We still have projected
Right.
400,000 at the back end of the year, which I don't think that's probably accurate. So that's I think we front run a lot of that stuff end of last year, early this year.
Right, and as you get closer to the end of your fiscal year, if you're running close on budget, we're pretty careful to, y'all may want to stop with some of these non-necessary things, and you guys are great at prioritizing all of your projects, but yeah, we do front load some of them. Staff is a better indication of items that they think need to be done that they can recommend to you. Your contracts, again, you'll want to have those pretty much based on budget. Unless we know landscape, we're gonna have more, I don't know.
So I guess a usability thing, in the case of, if it is a contract, it's this fixed amount, it's going to be this, you know.
Recording in progress.
year.
It is, so this is your budget number. We went out, for RFP, if we get a new proposal in, our budget that we adopted may not match what the contract is. That's why she's got an actual in here, projecting through the end. Because she's got that Y in the actual column.
I mean, question to board members, do you think we're gonna spend $400,000 from now till September
That's 7 months,
on landscaping?
because these are through February.
Season. I mean, I guess that was my question. So yes, having the flexibility to look at, okay, what's budgeted, what's actual.
Correct.
It may be something just to, you show over here on the left, okay, these, 6 items here are contracts. If
Right.
there are, I guess, maybe other items, in other sections, maybe something just to indicate that it's much less likely for us to come in differently, like, I can't see.
So I'd also like to state that probably these actuals have gone into one bucket as landscaping instead of, I mean, I guess we only had.
Yes.
I mean,
And-
it's pretty much landscaping covers, we've had irrigation that we've done this year.
Yes,
Yeah,
and you'll
that-
see in your financials, it shows 0. Well, you guys have approved $50,000 already. So Angel and I were looking at this, and I think that and your tree trimming, tree replacement, I think they coded that. She coded the invoice. Somehow it ended up, not sure how, but it ended up in reserve other. We think that's where those numbers are.
Okay.
We've paid the invoice, but I think they've just been put in the wrong line item. So we'll go through that again and, yeah, so that probably should have 50,000 in it, at least.
My thought is that, we have an adopted budget number that I'm guessing we're gonna come closest to that than something.
Carol, are you turned on, or can you turn your volume up?
Is that better? Is that any better?
I turned our mics up some.
Oh, okay.
Better?
Yeah, I can hear. Can you guys hear?
I can, it's really crackly, but I can hear her better anyway.
Let me try another.
There's-
Yep.
My suggestion is that we're going to end up much closer to the adopted budget number than this considerably lower number.
So move this here. And I'll tell you something I learned. If I put a Y in every column, that's not a Y. If I put a Y in every column, it's going to take whatever's in your leftmost column. So if I think I'm doing a specific value, I'm actually doing whatever's in the far left column.
I'd like to see a percent of column G.
So we do have some extra lines in here that actually aren't in our budget that I could hide this. Trash and debris is not in there. So again, it's still a work in progress. We just wanted you to see all these cool things that Leah has added for better purposes of projecting what your budget's gonna look like. Again, we're never gonna be dollar for dollar, but this will get us closer.
Is that me making all that noise?
Yeah, it's, looks like it's used. Okay.
So if everyone wants to take some time and just sort of work on the file, you're welcome to send me an email at any time, ask me questions, give me suggestions. I'm more than open to any feedback that any of you can bring to the table. My goal is to make the experience, really take it to the next level and give you all the tools that you possibly have to you know, really achieve your goals.
Are you going to send each of us the spreadsheets?
Brenda, I think you're working with the file, and yeah, we can absolutely do that.
Yes. And what we have done is, you won't be able to change anything or break numbers.
Right.
Because she's locked certain cells and certain tabs. So I was just trying, if I want to go in here and change this to 0, sorry, you can't because it's locked. So no worries about thinking that you're going to break something that shouldn't be broken. So all the cells that are open for you to put numbers in, or this whole section is all open.
So where does it show the change? Because before, when you changed engineering, I did not see the number in column P change.
Yes, right here.
Yeah, so maybe you show them the Y and each one of that, what it does to the number.
If I did a Y, I did Y in actuals. And that'll show you, so for engineering, we're actual 53 through February. If we think we're going to keep on the same spending rate, we'll be at 129,000 by the end of the year, based on actuals.
That's not changing the 25 budget.
Yeah.
No, it changes your projected column. That's all these columns are through you, is only going to change your projected columns.
So the numbers in P are strictly entered.
Correct. Those are hard coded. So if you want to budget, based on actuals, because we know the engineer is still going to be working, then instead of 60,000, you may want to do 130,000. So this column P,
Not unless we're going to Vegas, David.
but keep in mind, you may spend 130,000 this year, but we know we're not going to have these projects. So next year you might still be able to do 60,000. That's where you come in as your budget. We just added this section. Leah put that in so that you can better project, because we've had comments over the many years I've been here. Well, how do you project? Sometimes it's based on budget, sometimes it's based on actuals, and sometimes it's based on an actual number. So that's all these do, is it's just going to change the end result for column M. You get to decide what to do with that for column P.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Another question. So if we all went in and inputted our projections and we all had different projections for the end of the year, what would you guys do with that data?
So the idea is that you will work collaboratively at the proposed budget session so that you can determine as a group what makes sense for each one of the line items.
Correct. You guys can do this on your own and see what it looks like. And then at your next workshop, your next meeting, as we go through this again, like you've always done, well, I like $350,000 for the reserve. Well, I like 200,000. Well, I like 400,000. You guys will discuss that and come up as a collaborative number.
Copy.
And just like last time, the assessment detail page is live. So any changes that you make will be reflected here. And if you scroll farther over, there will be a total number in here. So your total down here, whichever line it is going to match your total expenses in your budget. So it's all tied together. It's all live. It's all linked.
Is this workshop, the time we start talking about what infrastructure projects we're thinking about and, what may be coming due for attention, costs for that kind of thing? Are we talking about that during this workshop?
You sure can, yes. And this is the other item that you guys will want to think about. You probably won't come to a conclusion today, but over the next, days and weeks as we keep working on this.
Right, and of course, there's the community maintenance facility.
Yep.
Which
So
is a big
that
thing.
was, yeah, that reserve others, what we pulled from our reserves. Based on what we plan to do for 24 and.
Yes, that was your conversation last year of adding the 412,000
Okay,
to the reserve. Yep.
and then this might be a rhetorical question, but at the end of the year, if we underrun, all those go back into our reserves, is that correct?
So your net income, whatever's left over down here. So it looks like, if we go with this, you'll add 71,000 to your fund balance, and then your new fund balance will be this.
Right.
So an
Whatever's
exhibit,
left over, we
But that-
save whatever
But that's not
deficit we're at.
reserves. It's not reserves, though. That's the fund balance. Then if we decide to, we can say,
Yep.
oh, that fund balance, we can allocate
To the
so
reserve.
much to reserves.
Okay,
correct. Yeah. So part of that is your first quarter operating reserve. Any of your other capital projects, you had your alleys last year.
we just wrote
So all that, yes.
copy, okay.
Yep.
Why is the first quarter operating reserve so high?
Divided by 4. It's your
Yep, should be
total
your annual
expenses.
operating budget.
It really should only be about, what, a month's worth, month and a half's worth?
What
If you
you've
look at
typically,
actual.
yeah, what you've typically done is that's what a full quarter is. But you've typically budgeted on Exhibit A, I think just put 150 or $250,000 in there.
I thought it was considerably more than
You
that. I
got
thought it was
2.8 million divided by 4, right? So there's.
Right.
there-
700,000.
Yeah,
Correct.
the bills don't come in that way. That's my point. That's why, I mean, it's extremely conservative, but it kind of estimated it greatly understates the undesignated catch.
Correct. And
So-
most of our
yeah,
other
So we got a
districts
lot
will-
more than so we would have a lot more than the 404. That's my point.
Correct. Again,
So-
you guys, that's
So
what
here's
your,
what I,
that's what your first quarter, the formula equates to, but you have chosen to use a different number. And I think last year might be 250,000. I'd have to look at your budget for last year.
Yep, but here's my point. First quarter is October, which we pay in November, and then November, which we pay in December. And hey, by the way, at the beginning of December, we get a whole wad of money from the tax collector. So
Right.
that's my point. My point is we don't need that much. We don't need to say that much because,
Right.
effectively, it's first month operating reserve.
Correct. And that's why you guys have put a lower amount in there.
Well, maybe we should just change the name to first month
Good.
operating reserve.
But
Because-
then you're gonna change the number too.
Correct.
It's just a formula, pulling numbers. It doesn't really reflect anything that we're going to, in a sense, utilize or spend or have on books. It's just dividing the total projected expenditures by 4, projecting a quarter.
Oh, well, I understand.
So, I mean, it's
Yeah.
not saying we're gonna spend that much money or we're gonna have that much money.
But why have these numbers here if they're,
It's just,
not
it's
useful?
just ballpark numbers, just kind of get you an idea of what you're looking at.
Well, but that's not even, That's not even in the same city, let alone ballpark.
What's the number?
What number should go in there?
Yeah,
I'd say about 6 weeks worth of spending, it'd be about half of that.
what's the number?
So divided by, I can put a month in there.
160,000, 355,000,
Okay, so
That's 1 month.
37.
Hold on, we're
basically
talking about,
just divided it from a quarter to a month and got the same what you want, so. I mean, you can say apples, oranges, pears.
Well, but the whole purpose of it is, the year starts October 1st, but we don't actually get paid until the beginning of December. All right. But it starts October 1st, but the bills for October don't come in until November. And the bills for November come in after we've been paid. So effectively, we really only need a 1 month reserve.
Right. Yeah, that's why last year you put, I think, 250 in, 200, 250.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. I mean, I've
yeah,
went over the budget for this year and I didn't think it was that high.
correct. And then understanding once you are fully funded, that money goes back in. So you're no longer using your operating reserve because you've got your operating funds.
Yeah.
Yep.
So should we talk about community maintenance facility and other
Capital projects?
capital projects that we are going to be pretty much obligated to take on?
Well, the one thing I was thinking about was given the outrageous amounts of what they want to do to fix that one corner in the alleys in the Green neighborhood. What's the schedule for redoing the alleys in that neighborhood? When is that on the docket
Are we talking
for?
about Blazing Star?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's the schedule for redoing alleys in in the whole neighborhood?
That would be David.
neighborhood G alleys, expected lifetime 15 years when new. This is from our 2022 reserve study. It shows a mill and overlay in FY26.
So not next year, but the year after.
And that's if we haven't done a perfect job sticking to the reserve study, and some things have come in over, so lots to keep in mind.
David, what are your thoughts in terms of?
Few things while you guys know back and forth, but if we want to lengthen the remaining alleyways to be repaired and the priority. We want to continue the cat cell removal program throughout the community. If the conservation area maintenance is going to be perpetuity, or we had the big hit last year, will it be a smaller number to stay on top of it? Miscellaneous drainage repairs and the aging infrastructure, and then this whole discussion on the maintenance facility construction as well.
And I guess we should really kind of talk about the community maintenance facility, because it's we received that appraisal, and I don't know where we start with that discussion. I just saw that it was 2.2 million was the market value in the appraisal, which seemed very high, and that we don't even have an actual offer for sale or a price, that we don't have any dates yet. I think we should, so my feeling is we should just move forward with unfortunately, I feel like we're compelled to move forward with the Buck Lake Park facility.
I couldn't agree less. Sorry. we have, in speaking with the owner of the golf course, he's willing to move forward quickly. So we can actually have that facility quickly. All we gotta do is figure out financing. They would probably lease back some of it while they're building their new facility, but they want to move forward. I mean, this is this is the opportunity of a lifetime thrown in our laps. And we don't need to build something on Buck Lake, which, one more time, everybody in the community hates.
We have not received, as a board, any communication that they're truly serious about this
Yes,
moving forward.
I-
Maybe
I-
you
I'm-
have.
I'm telling
but-
you as chairman, I have.
Yeah, but we haven't seen anything.
Well, no, of course not. I mean,
Of
I
course not.
got it yesterday.
I reached out to Angel last week and I asked her, what's the status? Are they presenting us with a price? Are they presenting us with a date of occupancy? Do we have any additional information? We have nothing.
Well, we'll get it.
And 2.2 million is a hefty number to ask the residents to finance.
Well, we have a number of options. I think Michael laid out 5 different ways to finance it. So,
We haven't seen anything.
no, you haven't.
We
True,
can.
that's correct. You
We can
haven't.
outside the meeting for,
Yeah.
We're limited in what we can do outside the meeting, so.
Yeah.
No, but we can be sent information prior to the
Yes.
meeting,
Yep.
which we have not received.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, how many months have we been discussing this?
2 or 3?
no,
So my question is, how do we finance something at this magnitude, and have we done something like this before? At this amount of cost?
We've only refinanced our bonds. We haven't financed a purchase like this.
yeah, we've never done anything like this.
The alleys was about a quarter, so I mean,
We didn't finance. it,
different, but,
right?
right, we didn't finance, correct.
So how does a bank or a lender provide the CDD loan at that magnitude based on what our operating income? Is that how it works?
Well, I will defer to the meeting because I think those kinds of
I
things.
mean, we're
will
just
be
assuming
discussed.
we're gonna get lended $2.2 million.
Correct.
At what interest rate?
I
Okay, is it
Agree.
12% right now? I mean, is it
have
5%?
have no idea.
So
at the
we're all,
present time.
gung ho about going forward with this. We really don't know how much.
Oh, no, we definitely need a good business plan. I'm not disagreeing.
Right, so let's.
Look,
figure
I
that
only
out
got the number
first.
yesterday, so
We
yeah.
can't say we're gonna do it for sure when we don't know what all the numbers and data points are.
Right,
So
I
let's
understand.
figure that out first.
How can we even project our budget if we don't have that information?
Well, we don't have any lenders that we've talked to, I believe, from what I saw from the email.
And we were in a similar situation last year. We knew we had to do something for some sort of maintenance facility. We had options, or at least when at budget time, we thought we had options of where that where that maintenance facility might go. And we tried to budget in having a choice. So maybe that's, in the number of months that we have left in the budget cycle, and in the time it takes us to learn about the different financing options and get more, go down any of those financing paths, find out how realistic they are and what kind of budget impact that would ultimately have. Then I'm not trying to kick the can down the road, but we don't need to decide it right now.
No, I agree, Dan, and I think we need a lot more data sent to us between this meeting and next meeting to actually have a really conversation about moving forward with
I
this
agree.
option.
I agree completely.
And what about the county, David?
They just called me a couple days ago to deny our current application because that address is no longer on the books because in school that address became off the face of the earth. So we have to now reapply for a new address. If we need electric, landline, dumpster, there's a few other things. So again, I didn't move forward with that, and so we discussed the bigger issue with the current facility, but if we want to keep tracking those parallel, I need to make a request to get a address assigned to get the system back in track. Even though the
Okay.
property appraiser says that's the address, they call me and say that was
Check your leg.
uh, undone when the school moved out. So the concentration-
I don't want you to take.
So if we don't request a new address or a redone address in the next couple of months, is the county, like, my question is really, how patient is the county going to be?
They just said, I told them we're gonna meet tonight, discussion, and now we're gonna track this parallel, which means the address request to keep get the application back in the queue to be continued to be reviewed while you're sorting through the finance options for bidding. So they didn't seem to be, you gotta have this happen right away. They don't seem to be helping to get, us in trouble. Have something we'll consume.
We've been moving in good faith in the direction they've told us to, and if slow rolling it a little more, it gives us this other option.
We got a survey, we did the plans, and the application, I mean, they know we're not.
Yep.
Slow playing this.
So is there anything else we want to talk about?
Well, David, you said you'd made notes, were those things that you wanted to,
What I was gonna bring up in the CDD meeting is, I know we're gonna run power to the building, I know that. Are we gonna run landlines to it or not? We have to get a different address for the electrical hookup, one for the dumpster, all these building related mechanisms that we're moving forward.
okay,
But if I get the green light in the CDD meeting, yes, let's keep tracking while you guys are investigating the loan option, we'll continue to do that.
okay, and, but in the, bigger picture for the entire year's budget, you'd mentioned just other capital projects, like different alleyways, and you
Yeah.
said you've been taking notes of that.
I want to inspect the ranking for you and see if they're in good enough shape for another year, or if they're actually falling apart. The cattails, we did a good job last couple months ago to hit the ones that are really bad when you first came into the community golf course. But while I'm doing my stormwater inspection, I want to go ahead and recommend areas that, like Lucas has brought up a couple meetings ago, is based on our findings, we did this week with South Florida in the plants, we now know which ones are 100% liable to maintain, and which ones are the few that are in, with the owners association, but yes, I have a list here to, because I knew what today was gonna be like, so I accepted this for another CDD, I knew next meeting would be, let's bring numbers and projects.
Okay,
Cost of-
I can't think of anything off the top of my head besides the repavement on Blazing Star, but if there's any other large capital expenditures that we think we have, we probably should highlight.
That's still on hold on Garden Road, the maintenance shed.
Oh, yeah, the shed.
For the garden?
Garden Road, if you're not gonna get the big building, if we're gonna track with the original course, we're gonna do the maintenance facility at the lake, and we're supposed to get that manufactured prefab shed for the garden club on Garden Road.
Well, I thought we were still going to do that.
If, I don't recall what Marilyn said regarding if we go with the golf maintenance facility, if we still need the shed or not.
Oh, well, I'm pretty sure she said, yeah, she still wants the shed.
in our reserve study, we had 126,000 for FY 25 projects. There was a mule, a workboat, restroom painting. Just no giant projects, just quite a few small projects.
The big number usually for the other CDDs that have gated is the roadway pavement program.
Right.
You guys all have public roads except for only a few areas which are new.
Right.
That big ticket item is not, it's a county responsibility. to keep it moving.
There actually was more than half of that 72,000 was for sidewalks in the reserve study.
Can't think of anything off the top of my head. From what I
Okay,
remember.
well,
Just the big one.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the big one indeed. Well, if nobody has any more, I guess we can adjourn and yeah, go right ahead. But
That's, that's not it's probably not a budget line item. This is a workshop about the budget. So in half an hour, we start the regular CDD meeting. And I did reach out to field services asking why.
Okay, and the East Tower is in the reserve study. There was 1,000 for painting it in FY '23. Next would be painting in 2031. So it looks like every 8 years for painting and every maybe 20 years or something for the roof, 8,000 in 2031. So
it has stuff on it that don't exist.
yes, there's definitely stuff that needs to be done with
it's
it
on
now.
it's on
but
the project list.
It's in our long term, exactly.
It's on the current project list
Yes.
to just get it painted. Well, then let's take a break and come back at 6. So I
Yep.
brought my sandwich, so I'm
We
all
need
set.
to have a vote to adjourn the meeting. Can't hurt, I suppose. Move to adjourn this workshop.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
See
you,
at
Brenda.
6.